What's up, you guys? In today's video, I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. I'm going to be doing a Q&A video. I'm just going to be answering some of your guys' questions that you've been leaving on my comment section. First question I'm going to answer comes from Savio Arisanto, and it's on my Mateo Sato Guitar Techniques and Concepts video. Now he asks, what pedal do you use? Please share with me. Thanks, mister. Now, on that video, I used to have pretty kind of primitive kind of setup. I still don't have the best studio setup here, but it's a little bit better than what I used to have. And for that, by that time, I was recording everything on this guy right here. Now this is a Line 6 JM4 Looper, and this actually has an SD card out. So what I did is I used to record the voice on the computer, but all the sounds that came out of the guitar and all the drums and everything else on this guy, because this guy actually has some pre-recorded drums, and what I would do is I would record loops. But actually on the Mateo Sato video, what I did is I created an actual patch with just a little bit of drive, a ton of reverb. I think I had a little bit of delay. It's been a couple years already since I recorded that video, so I don't really remember the patch that well. But it was just that. It was a tiny bit of drive and a lot of reverb, and everything came from this guy right here. So if you want to check it out, I'm going to leave a link down in the description to Amazon where you can find this pedal. You can also find it on the gear section of my website. Now the next question comes in my 7th chord survival guide with drop 2 guitar voicings video, and it comes from your DOGMA. And he asked, question bro, how would you use this information to compose? Now what he's referring to there is actual drop 2 chord voicings, and you can check them out right here. I'm going to leave the link right there. I'm also going to leave the link to that video in the description box. He's referring to these types of voicings right here. Now all of those 4 voicings are just C major 7s, and there's a whole bunch of different voicings, and you could do those types of chords with minor 7s, minor 7 flat 5s, minor major 7, diminished. You can turn those into anything. Pretty much. So in terms of composing, you just gotta use a little bit of creativity. You could maybe write out some chords, a normal standard chord progression, and then just apply these voicings to that, and that'll make it sound more like an actual guitar part instead of your normal open chords. Another approach you could do is you could take one of these chords and turn it more into a melody. Aside from that, you can just create a whole bunch of different things. So essentially, you can use those chords as you would use any other chord in your compositions. You could begin with these chords and write a melody over that. You can use these chords as a melody, and I believe in that video I actually commented, I think it's Every Piece Matters by Plenty, that actually begins with one of those chords. So you could take that as an example of a composition that has a little bit of these chords within that. So there's a whole bunch of different ways that you could apply these chords towards composition. It's just a matter of using your creativity. Now the next question is in my Greg Howe string skipping and hybrid picking legato video, and it comes from Chánh Trung Lé. I'm sorry if I butchered your name. I don't really know how to say it. But he says, awesome man, by the way I want to play jazz fusion well. Do I need to focus on scales or licks or what? Thanks. Okay, so that's actually a kind of a complex question. In reality, to play jazz fusion well, you need the same things that you need for any type of genre. So you're going to need, well, specifically in jazz fusion, you're going to need a pretty good harmonic background. So you got to understand what the relation is that's going on between different chords. So you got to know a little bit of harmony. You're going to need a little bit of theory. So you got to focus. In reality, you got to have a good base of scales, a good base of arpeggios. You got to know how to apply some chord tones. You gotta know your modes. So really a little bit of all that information. But as with any genre, you gotta learn the style, you gotta learn the vocabulary, and that comes through learning licks or different solos, transcribing different guys' types of things, learning how the vocabulary actually sounds, how you can actually talk in that genre. It's a little bit of everything really. It's not all scales, it's not all arpeggios, it's not all chords. It's really it's not all licks either. It's a little bit of everything. And I know that can be a kind of vague explanation, but it's the truth. So I would suggest learn your major scales, learn your melodic minor scales, learn your harmonic minor scales. You could learn harmonic major if you want to. Figure out the different modes within all of those. Figure out how the chords within all those scales work. You gotta learn the arpeggios behind all of those that stem from all the different degrees of those scales as well, and how to apply them so that you can reach for chord tones as you're improvising. And not only that, but you gotta figure out the style. So you gotta learn some different solos and licks from different people that you might like, and figure out how they construct their lines so you can start building your own. Alright, so the next question comes from Mitch Wessell on my Mateo Asado Guitar Techniques and Concepts video. And he goes, at the end of the video when you talk about him using chord tones in the corresponding pentatonic, does that mean if the chord progression is A minor, G, and D, I'm playing A minor pentatonic over the A minor, G major pentatonic over the G, and D major pentatonic over the D? I know that's probably a dumb question, but a lot of people usually just find the key of the song and just playing, say, D major pentatonic the whole time, no matter what the changes are in the backing track. But this is the way to being more melodic, because if it is, I'm all in. So yeah, there's two different sides to what I said in the video, like he said. I mentioned using chord tones, and I mentioned using the corresponding pentatonics. So using chord tones, all you're going to do to play chord tones is use the notes within the chords to improvise or to create the different fills that Mateo Asado likes to do. And then when it comes to using the appropriate pentatonics, it would be exactly what you said, using A minor pentatonic for A minor. I believe you said, G major pentatonic for G major, and then D major pentatonic for D major. Now this is, in a way, it'll make you a little bit more melodic because you don't have as many notes. And it'll make you more melodic if you just use them as notes to rest on, or if you just land on the different chord tones and not use them as sweep arpeggios, which you can also do. But if you want to be a little bit more melodic, it's a little bit better if you just land on the chord tones. Now the whole thing about using the specific pentatonics is to get a bit more of a Hendrix type sound. Because Hendrix did use the specific pentatonics of each chord, and it gives you a bit of a shift. If you just stay on the one scale, like you mentioned, playing more diatonic, then you're not gonna get those specific sounding notes out of each of those chords. Now the last question comes from MrTubularBalls in my 3-string sweep picking arpeggios video. Now he says, very fast and precise sweep picking. The tricky thing for me is quickly changing direction in the picking hand. Any tips for that? You notice you break down the 6 notes per beat at 2 triplets, also known as a fall sextuplet. Would you play and feel this as real sextuplets as well? Depends on the backing track, I guess. I find sextuplets hard to play at tempo with any technique. Tend to just cram 6 notes in a beat and lose sight of the rhythm. Hard to feel them, which is strange, because I listen to a lot of shred solos, and those are full of them. Many metal riffs have them as well. Okay, so first of all, let me deal with the triplets. So, yes, a sextuplet in a false sextuplet, which is also known as a 16-note triplet, they look different because you just have, you either have a beat of 6 notes and it has a 6 underneath, or you have that same beat divided into 2 different 16-note triplets, and each of those triplets have a 3 underneath it. But in reality, if you divide the beat evenly around those 6 notes, it's going to sound exactly the same. Now, the whole way of feeling them, it might create a bit of a sense of dividing the beat in 2 or in 3. So it might feel a little bit more like a triplet. Might one feel more as if you have 2 different triplets in 8th notes. So you might get something like this. Versus but that's just because you're adding in accents. But if you eliminate those accents, you're always going to get. So even though I'm kind of accentuating the first hit, it pretty much feels almost like a machine gun. So as long as you don't focus on any specific notes, you eliminate those accents, it's going to sound, they're both going to sound exactly the same. I tend to prefer looking at it as a 16-note triplets just because it's the first way I kind of learned how to do it. So I feel a little bit more comfortable looking at it like that. But there really is pretty much no difference between one or the other unless you accentuate either the 8th notes with triplets inside of each of those, or if you accentuate the triplet with a 16th note in between them. So in reality, you can go whichever way feels best for you. Now in terms of the sweeping and going in different directions, it's a matter of getting used to the different movements. Something I learned in school from one of my teachers, Sid Jacobs, is that you should use, it's pretty much a classical technique where you're using your fingers, and as soon as you plug the string, the finger rests on the next string. So I kind of approach sweeping in the same manner. I just go down with the pick and rest it on the next note. If I'm going up, I do the same thing. And by doing that, I'm actually changing directions. The other important thing is to actually practice these super slow. Don't try to actually play these fast until you have a firm grasp of the movements that you're doing. So make sure that you have everything down before you start speeding it up. If you can't understand the move at a slower tempo, then don't try to get it faster. Why? Because you're just going to start getting sloppy, and you're just going to start you're going to learn the technique, but it's going to be a little sloppy, a little dirty. So it's better to get it nice and clean and precise the first time than learning it the wrong way and having to clean it up later, because essentially you're just going to have to unlearn the technique to learn it in the right fashion. So take your time, be patient with it, and learn it the right way the first time. Alright, so that's it for this video. Remember to comment below if you have any other questions so I can answer them for the next Q&A video. And if you've ever wanted to understand the inner workings of different scales and chords and how to mix and match these different scales, you can check out my book, The Art of Scale Weaving, on Amazon. I'm actually going to leave a link down below in the description box. And if you're interested in any lessons with me, you can go to my website, juanantoniomusic.com, and check out the different lesson packs right there. And if you've enjoyed the video and think that these answers might help some of your friends, please share the video. Alright, thanks for watching.